The people I care about are in danger. Our enemies have become stronger. No more Mr. Nice Drone! It's time to make the fandom consider my hot, evil, true form! Welcome, campers! Let's sound off! 1, 2...
Murder Drones Season 1 is going to wrap up this year. We've already gotten some interesting little teasers for what the finale will all entail. We've gotten some trailers, which were really fun to watch, really hilarious, especially for one. I'm going to get to that here in just a second. And everything that's been dropped has made me re-question one of the videos that I recently did, which was 5 different endings to Murder Drones, 5 possible endings. While I think all of those are still viable in some form or another, one thing that I'm pretty certain of is that we now know N's final form.
Yes! This is power!
And no, I'm not just talking about sweet doggo N. Oh, look, this is so cute and everything. Nah, I'm talking about where N is going to end up as a character, who he will be at the end of this season. So let's dive into it. Hi there, everyone. Lars here from Camille's Harem, not just a podcast by novice writers for novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers. Because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. And one of the big things that needs to be said about any story is that it lives or dies by its characters. Every main character needs to be on some sort of trajectory throughout the plot. The story isn't just about characters going from point A to point Z and then huzzah, you've reached the end of your book. The characters need to have changed. They need to have developed in some kind of way by the end of the story. And the more significant the changes, potentially, the more powerful that arc is and the more meaningful the story's conclusion can be. And Murder Drones is no exception. It's nothing new to say, it's nothing revolutionary to say that this show has incredible characters. I mean, everyone loves the murderous psychopath V. She is amazing. It's crazy how everyone's fallen for the crazy girl. And I think everyone absolutely adores Uzi. She is just the ultimate stereotypical angsty teen, but done in a way that isn't grating, that is lovable, and you just root for her as the underdog, as the short underdog in the whole story. But then there's N. N is the nice guy who has kind of been the same person throughout the entire story. We've seen how Uzi has changed, how she's not just the angsty teen anymore who's having some sort of cause to fight back against her dad, but now that she is genuinely searching for herself, searching for the truths of what has happened to all of the drones, and to stop Absolute Solver, she is on her way to becoming a hero. And V is someone who went through a really crazy redemption arc, and we didn't even know that that was what was being planned out or being executed until the final moments of the latest episode. But what about N? He just seems to always be the same sweet guy who has that nice solution for whatever ails you, and it seems as though the only real step of growth that he's actually made was back in the pilot, where he decided to no longer kill because orders told him to, but to be his own guy. And we've seen him be his own guy ever since, and not really explore too much deeper. So where exactly could we go with N's character? This is where the trailers come into play. And notice right here, I'm saying trailers and not simply trailer, because yes, we got 2 of them, one of them in the form of merchandising. So in the very first teaser trailer that we got for the finale, it was basically rehashing everything that we've seen thus far, except for some little stuff there at the end with Absolute Solver saying thank you for giving me the world or giving me the planet, and reaching out to Uzi saying I need you, we can figure this out together, and then she crushes his hand. So that was pretty intense right there. But really what I think that we also got is in the merchandising trailer where we get to see En become good doggo En, is that we got a clip. I'm pretty certain that we've got a clip of what En is going to be like at the very end, with him standing alone, getting that really cool back shot in a storm, back outside in the crazy nuclear fallout winter. That is where I believe this season is going to end. And given what we've recently gotten in terms of the teaser trailers and also of some teaser visuals, I think that I was wrong earlier when I said that we're only going to get one season of Murder Drones. I still think that that's possible because that really does fall within Liam Vickers' MO, but I think the door now is way more open than I thought previously for a second season. And quite literally, it's because of this open door right here. We've got some crazy cosmic magic whatnot happening right here, and I'm going to get to that soon enough, believe you me. Let's quickly return to En as a character and why I think it's going to end with En alone and what that means. The first teaser trailer, the one that we really do recognize as a trailer for the final 2 episodes, involves all of these flashbacks to things that have already happened within the series, and I thought it was very poignant that almost everything that we hear from En is him crying out for V. This is really important right here because we've now seen just how important V has been to En this entire time. And true, the shipping wars kind of now tilts to Newsy being canon and could end up that way. I still say everyone is in danger. Do not think that your ship has sailed out of the harbor just yet. If anything, En crying out for V shows once again just how important she's been to him all this time, before and after his brain and memories were all scrambled. And we see how who he was so integral also to V. Everything started coming full circle there at the end. And now that she's supposedly gone, I think there's still a chance for her to come back, but as far as En is concerned, she's gone. There goes his past. There goes his first love. That is going to tear a hole into who En is because V was so integral to everything about him. Again, when we first meet him, the way that he treats Uzi and the fact that he's even going to try to kill someone who he does recognize as a friend, Uzi, is all because he's trying to protect V. Now that she's gone, all of that has just gone out the window. The only person then that he really has left is Uzi, because after his conversation with Tessa about how Earth has been destroyed and what's been going on with Absolute Solver, it's very clear that En does not trust Tessa as much as he once did, especially when she says, you have to kill Uzi. You have to save the universe by destroying her because she is the one who is now carrying Absolute Solver. And wow, this must really be weighing down on En. He wants to save his best friend, potentially his new crush right here. And so it's very clear, as we see in that trailer, that he wants to work things out together with her. She is the last thing that is holding him to any semblance of a reality that he can love or who he himself is. Should she go, if Tessa, V, and Uzi are all just vanished by the end of this, who is En? And I think that while that might not be at the forefront of his thinking, that is something that we as the audience need to be cognizant of, because if these 3 characters should disappear, everything about En's identity vanishes. Now, that might sound like a false statement when we think about how En does have his own personality. As Uzi points out, he is his own person. So with his own memories, his personality, his character traits, his strengths and his weaknesses, of course he is someone. But without the people that make his life what it is, it's like starting over completely fresh. And again, when we look back to the merchandising trailer of Doggo En, he talks about how the villains have stripped everything away from him, how it's now time for him to take on his final form. And then we get the joke with Doggo En. However, again, I do believe that we have just been given a big hint that En is going to end up alone by the end of this season. And the reason why that's important is because now En, without anyone acting as his guiding star or acting as shackles to his past or to ground him in a firm sense of reality and who he is, En will be forced in a second season to truly discover himself and to step up to be the hero that the series needs him to be. En's final form is to be the lone survivor of Season 1 of Murder Drones. Now, that doesn't mean that we're turning our backs on Uzi, Tessa, and V whatsoever, because there are plenty of ways in which V, for instance, can return, whether she gets saved by Jay, whether the Absolute Solver programming in her goes ballistic and begins to absorb all of the Sentinels and she creates a new form, like what we saw happen with a spooky, weird snake crab Jay earlier on within the season, or V just gets cloned, as we were told that high-valued murder drones are cloned and are rebuilt elsewhere to be sent back out into the field. So there's various ways in which V can return. When it comes to Uzi and Tessa, what I think is going to happen is we're going to see them vanish through the door right here. I'm coming back to the door, and why I think that this literally opens up the door for a second season. We're going to have the grand finale in which the heroes confront Absolute Solver, and all of the occult stuff that we've seen so far within this series, and this is stuff that I've talked about before, is leading me to believe that Absolute Solver is really far more than just some program, but is truly an eldritch deity of some kind. And really what I think we're going to have, especially since every episode of Murder Drones is a homage to some other horror genre or specific horror story, I think that what we're going to get is we're going to get Murder Drone's version of Ghostbusters at the end. When the doors open up to let Gozar through into the material plane of Earth, so that way Gozar can destroy the world and purge humanity and usher in the new age of demons and whatnot. I think that we're going to see something kind of similar to that when it comes to Absolute Solver. That door through which we see these other worker drones coming through, who could be the reincarnations or the original versions of Uzi's and Doll's mothers. That could actually be them. We could be seeing Nori right there. It's kind of unclear, and I think it's meant to be that way. Like, we're meant to speculate, could this really be the moms? And I don't know, but what is very clear is we've got some crazy door open right here that's all glowing, crazy whatnot. We know that the occult has been very prominent within the series, and that the Absolute Solver is working up to something. If it could just simply crawl into the planet's core and rip it apart, it would have done so long ago. Instead, it wants a spire of corpses, very likely to channel its powers or to call something else in order to allow it to open up that door or to rip apart the planet. We're just not exactly sure yet, but indeed there's going to be some sort of ritual that has to be stopped. The doors to somewhere else within the universe or to some other sort of metaphysical plane has been opened. This will be key to how the season wraps up. I think it's very likely that Uzi and Tessa are going to fall through that door, maybe even Doll along with them, completely leaving En alone, where once the door is closed, Absolute Solver is stopped, so that way it can't destroy the planet. En's left alone. All of his friends just vanished, either dead or sucked through this door. What is En going to do at that point? En is going to step up then within a second season to become the hero that he was always meant to be, to really start taking the next steps on his own hero's journey by really discovering himself, confronting the full darkness of the Murder Drones universe, and still finding hope where everything else seems to be hopeless. Because that's who En has always been, the guy who can find the silver lining to any dark cloud. And what will that survivor's form take? I think it will take a slightly more jaded, it will take on the form of a slightly more jaded En, but still someone who will discover that hope, who is going to figure out ways of reaching out to other planets, possibly even reopening the door in order to find Uzi, to save his best friend, and in the process hunt down Absolute Solver and end this eldritch abomination once and for all.